All right, we are going to take this FN303 apart. So I messed around with it the other day a little bit. So just first shots, first setup, it was pretty easy to figure out. I mean, it comes in a bunch of pieces in the box. This part's pretty obvious. Just goes to here. Tank's got a little quick connect. Looks like the tank is made by Catalina Cylinders, Cliff Impact Division, Hampton, Virginia. Never heard of them, but it looks like they make some pretty nice stuff. First impression, I really like how they've got this little quarter turn valve ASA built in. It's a 3000 psi tank. I'm gonna see if I have the right plumbing to hook up my pressure gauge and see if yeah, we should. Yeah, just want to see what the output pressure is. So if I have a whip hose that I can hook up to this tank, I'll check the pressure output and see what it is set to from the factory. Maybe that's something we can play around with down the road and see if we can adjust it. But we'll worry about that later. For now, I'm just gonna take it all apart. So this is I like this setup. This is a nice little design that's pretty easy to use. It just snaps right on. Comes off pretty easily. The magazine release, I find it kind of fumbly. When you think about it, you got your magazine in like that, you're holding the launcher. Now what? You gotta like reach over the top and use your other hand. Like, I don't know. It seems a little counterintuitive. Maybe like a button here would have been a little better. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I digress. Just seems a bit clumsy. I do like it overall. Don't let the plastic fool you, I guess, is the first thought and statement that comes to mind. It's just a lot of plastic, you know? But, I mean, it's good quality plastic. It's not gonna break easy. And I feel like parts would be pretty easily replaceable if needed. It's got some decent as I can't get it to come up. It's got some decent built-in iron sights. I figure it's made by FN303, so there's a lot of engineering background behind it. So you would think it would be pretty good quality. I mean, the iron sights are obviously adjustable for windage and elevation, so that's pretty cool. Let's see, what size do we have? So 7/64 for the win. As Michael said, I imagine all these nuts will fall out on the backside. It's pretty typical. Yeah, I was talking with Michael O'Brien. He said, you know, based on the package that my 303 came in, you could tell whether or not it was a newer model or an older model based on so in the top of the package they put some extra packing material to take up the free space in the top, and they apparently used to use styrofoam in the top of the package, and then they switched and now they use a multi-layered cardboard as the packing in the top. And mine has the multi-layered cardboard, and Michael said that was a indicator that it was a newer unit. Now, this was brand new. It clearly hadn't been used. It didn't have any markings on it. But the supplier that I purchased it through had a group of them that they had purchased from a police department who had purchased but never issued them. So it was a department issue that was never used, and that department sold them to a distribution company. But very happy with my purchase. It came with pretty much everything but a manual. It didn't have a manual in it, but it had a little bottle of like a mineral oil in it. It's got these little, so it came with 2 magazines. Magazines have these little covers, and then you take one of these and you click it on, and you drop a round in there, and then you turn it, drop another round in, turn it, drop another round in, and it's got to stop right here. So once you have a round in, it stays there. Right now there's nothing in it, so the spring just wants to return like that. But not a bad design. It's different, it's interesting, I like it. screw. Now, at some point, I will probably maybe pick up some of the actual FN ammos and try some different ones out just to see if maybe they perform better than aftermarket stuff that I'll be playing with for now. You know, I've got a bunch of different sizes and weights of DK ammo on hand. I've got loads of HP 68s on hand. So we'll try some different stuff, and then just for science, I would like to get some of the FN branded ammo and see if it outperforms the aftermarket. All right. So one thing already that's a little bit different than what I saw in Michael's video. Mine has this little doodad. It's just a cap. It's kind of cool. Interesting. It's a QD, right? So it's just a little plastic QD, and it locks into the hose. So when you're not using it, it keeps the stuff out, right? It's kind of neat, but I had to take it off so I can take the clamshell off. And then, like, it's got the serial numbers on it right there, which is pretty cool. All right. There is the business end of things. So, let's see here. Alright. It's kind of neat. So this little metal piece here is the detent for the safety. You got your trigger attached to a linkage. Okay, so inside here, you've got a little, I don't even know what you want to call it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show it to the camera until I take the air chamber out, but attached to the trigger linkage, you got a rod that comes up, and then you got this piece is a pivot. You got one leg goes forward and another leg that goes backward. This leg that goes backward makes a 90-degree and angles down like this right here, and when you pull the trigger, actually you might be able to see it. See how that leg right there goes down? So right here, actually I can kind of demonstrate it. There's a little piece that sticks up right here. And I imagine when you air this up, this piece comes up, right? So when you air this up, it makes an audible click. And I imagine this piece pushes up, and then as you pull the trigger, this pushes down on it. and that's what fires it. It's similar to a Tipex setup where you've got your piston inside of here, which looks so. Inside of here, you got one of these. You've got one of these pistons in front, a couple other parts, and then here, when you air this up, this piston pushes out, and your trigger linkage comes back, and when you pull the trigger, it pulls in on this piston, and that's what moves the air from the small side of the piston to the big side of the piston. Once the air is on the big side of the piston, it overcomes the pressure on the small side of the piston, and it shoots the bolt, right? Fires the bolt forward. So I'm sure I'll get roasted for that description, because that's a very novice description of how that functions, but either way. So let's see. Let's take this apart. Play around with things a little bit. All right. Well, I was not expecting that to come out like that. But let's see. interesting design. So it looks like instead of having the O-ring on the bolt side, like most other launchers have, the O-ring is actually on the pin, the firing pin, which is kind of neat, kind of different. I like it. But so the O-ring doesn't seal on anything but here. Just this very end where you can see it clicks in. It's an interesting design. Certainly different than most other setups you see out there. Let's throw some tape on the vise so we don't scar these parts up. Unfortunately, you won't be able to really see what I'm doing once I'm working on the vise. Okay, so that actually loosened up fairly easily. Interesting. Okay, so it's somewhere in the middle of the FSC chamber cap thread and the FSC rear main cap thread. Let's see what else we got. It's a little bit different. Anywho, I'm recording. Anyhow, we'll figure out what thread size that is later. Imagine it's probably metric. 8055. .46 millimeter major diameter, 19.75 minor diameter. So it's probably a M20 metric thread. Take the rest of the regulator apart. That one didn't come apart quite as easy as the other one. And that is too small for the regulator. So is that. I'm gonna put the camera on you in a second. Alright, so that's an interesting development. In Michael's video, all these pistons that he had issues with them breaking were made out of brass, and mine is clearly it looks as though it's going to be steel. It's going to be stainless, so it's non-ferrous, but even if it's stainless, it's going to be stronger than the brass that he was having issues with breaking. So hopefully I can avoid the issues that he had with his breaking. So, and I imagine inside under that screw, it's just going to be a spring, because basically what this is doing, this is your pressure bypass, this is your pressure relief. So what this is doing is if you overturn this, it's bypassing and dumping off any excess pressure. So we need to eliminate the bypass, which very similar to an M17. It might actually be the same size. If we remove this, and that might be a little small, which means that's probably going to be an oddball size, because this is a 10 millimeter. That's probably going to be an 11 millimeter. So what's happening is you've got a spring and a piston in here, and when you overcome the pressure input, it just dumps it off. So we need to seal this up so it's not dumping off excess pressure. Luckily, I got a good one with a steel piston, and I should be able to not break it with any luck. Figure out what size it is. Right. 3/16 for the win. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off this O-ring so I don't damage it. Gonna try to not drop this on the floor. I imagine that's probably got a locking compound on there. So we'll see what we can do. good news is this barely had any thread locker on it. And I had bought some set screws before. No, that's too big. It's a coarse thread, whatever it is. But so let's see what we got inside here. We got a spring. Yeah, and it looks like just a piston. So let's see if I can get that out of there. Alright, so yeah, that's really all there is to it. There's no magic. There's no magic. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this back in the right way, like that. And I'm gonna thread's wrong. So I'll show you what I'm gonna do. So I have bunch of these hollow lock set screws in a 3/8 24, which should allow me to drop one in the hole, kind of like that. And so basically the threading ends before the piston. So you need something to take up the gap that's not a spring, right? Because a spring with enough pressure, it will overcome the spring and it'll let the air leak out. So we're gonna put a solid block in there. I'm not at this point gonna Loctite it in, but at some point I will Loctite it in. Now we're gonna put this back in over it. I think I put it in upside down. Clean that. I'm just gonna clean these threads out. I don't want a chance it going up on me. Now the key here, being stainless, you have to be very careful with these threads. And the reason for that is stainless, although it has a high strength, it isn't that hard. So it will smear and it will gall. So basically the material will fill into the threads as you're trying to remove it, and it will become one with the piece that it's threaded into. That's what you don't want. So I'll tighten that down. Crank it in there good. And there you go. Now, it's good and solid in there. So, that should completely seal that, and it should not allow any air bypass. So this should make it so 100% of its potential can be seen. So whatever the air tank is regulated at, is now what it will put out. So, put that back in. Fuel ring back on it. Doodad goes in there. I'm going to put this back in the vise to tighten this down. I'm not sure that this O-ring is actually necessary at this point, but we'll try it both ways. I don't think it is, but we'll put it in for now. Let's see what it does. Now, I was kind of, I don't know, not paying attention, I guess. When I took this out, this all went kapow, and pieces flew at me. Wasn't really expecting it. This is that piece that I was talking about in the beginning, where when this airs up, there's a little piston in there, and that little pin in the middle should come up. And what happens when you pull the trigger, you grab this piece here, maybe you can see it, down in here, sure we can really see it. It doesn't look like we can see it. Anyways, so there's a piece right here that goes, when you pull the trigger, it goes like that, and it pushes that pinion. Sorry, not pinion, piston. And that's how it fires the launcher. So I'm gonna try, while I have this apart, to loosen this barrel. That way I don't have to take it all back apart again once my replacement barrels come in. I'm gonna try not to ruin the barrel also. That's my goal anyways. See how it goes. So be aware, there's a piece right here. I imagine it's the cup that spring sits in, but yeah, okay. So what they did is, this is basically just a wear sleeve. This is made out of steel. This body is made out of aluminum. So they really reefed this barrel in here. Unfortunately, not really sure the best way to get it out. But I might have to, once my other barrels come in, maybe I'll just ruin it. But I have some other tricks I can use to put some heat to it without using flames. And then that might help too. So we will see. We will see. Alright, so a little trick here. That little piston piece sits kind of proud of the bore here. So if you turn it just slightly to the side so you can access it with your thumb, push it down, get it started, then you can rotate, line up the air hose. That's interesting. The head of this screw is now kind of an offset. I don't recall it being that way. Maybe I'm crazy. It's weird. That's weird. Oh, I see what it might be. Kinda. Yeah, so if you do this, these little pins right here are alignment pins that locate this to this, to the main body. So I was using these pins. They look to be stainless or some sort of alloy steel that would be pretty durable. But when I was loosening all the components, trying to turn, when I put this in the vise, I used these pins as a stop so it wouldn't rotate in my vise. And I think I might have put a burr on the edge of one of the pins, and it just set me off just a whisker, so my screw here was rubbing here. Not enough of an issue, not enough of a burr that it caused the piston to misalign to the trigger. That still looks like it's lined up perfectly, but just enough that it rubbed a little bit. So just something to be aware of if you do this. know this is turning out to be kind of a long video, but I think it should be helpful. Should be helpful information. Maybe, maybe not. Not really sure where I'm gonna shoot this thing, because if it shoots 160 joules or something like that, it's gonna punch through most things that I have here in the workshop. Anyways, we'll figure that out after. Let's keep on keeping on. So they must have figured out that it really kind of sucked if all your nuts fell out of this case, because mine all stayed. What I guess at this point has been interesting for me, between watching Michael's video a couple times all the way through, just so I could get a good grasp on how this all comes together, what I have found is that most of the stuff that turned out to be an annoyance in his disassembly and modification of his seem to have been fixed or improved on mine. So, coincidence? Possibly. Intentional? Also possibly. I would like to think that FN is the kind of company that is gonna put out a product, find its weak spots, and then start putting out revisions. So it is very possible that they observed all of these annoyances from people or departments, or whatever you want to call them, organizations who were utilizing these and having to service them finding that there were weak spots or things that could be improved upon, and them coming out with new revisions to make those things better. So aha, there it goes. Look at that. Look at that. Alright, so that might be the trick, just to kind of hold it upright while you do it, because the threads in the case are small enough that the screw will stay. Once you thread it into the plastic, it'll stay. So if you get all the screws started into the plastic and then hold it upright while you tighten them in, it won't push all the nuts out the backside. Whether it's going to work on all of them, who knows? So far, so good, though. So what I'll probably do is wait until tomorrow and take this outside with me. I've got a really lovely Jeep Grand Cherokee hood outside that I think this will probably punch some really nice holes in. So we can test the distance at which it punches holes in a car hood and see how it goes. We'll just give each of these a little snug. There we go. There it is. So, not bad overall. I've wasted a little bit of time. We've got about an hour and 6 minutes into this so far. But, that's stopping to talk and kind of taking my time with things. So, really, start to finish, as long as you don't run into any major issues, you could probably have one of these taken apart, gone through, modified, put back together in probably, 40 minutes or so. So that's it. That's what I got. And hopefully something there helps somebody. And we'll do some testing with it tomorrow. And we'll add that at the end of the video. And we'll go from there. Thanks for watching.